Geoengineering poses serious risks for the environment as well. Geoengineering techniques may alter precipitation patterns, produce droughts, increase acid rainfall. Aerosol particles sprayed into the atmosphere could accelerate ozone depletion or reduce the total sunlight that reaches the Earth's surface, impact agricultural production, or reduce solar power production. Sulfate injection into the atmosphere could increase acid deposition in the ocean, possibly beyond biological thresholds. Geoengineering may pose unknown stresses on ecosystems and biodiversity. Now, some of these proposed techniques are not easily reversible if the effects are not what were intended. As Newton said, what goes up must come down. Any particulates in the air will eventually fall to the ground, on our homes, our businesses, the land, the water, our persons. Farmland covers about 10% of this state. Aquaculture is an important part of the state economy. We are not aware of anyone that has considered, much less studied, the impact of geoengineering on the ocean state's oyster harvest, for example. The economic impact of geoengineering experiments gone awry is completely unknown. The consequences of deliberately manipulating the climate and the environment are not completely understood. More research and experimentation is underway, and absent legislation or some form of public oversight to monitor and control experimentation, private actors may be free to engage in reckless behavior in the name of science or financial gain. Now, I'll give you an example. In 2012, an American citizen conducted a geoengineering experiment in ocean fertilization off the west coast of Canada by dumping 100 tons of iron sulfate into the Pacific Ocean in an effort to trigger a plankton boom and promote salmon restoration. Now, state laws should prohibit this type of activity without authorization, but current laws do not necessarily prevent these activities. It's not clear that geoengineering is prohibited, even regulated by existing federal and state environmental laws. House Bill 611 will guard against careless experimentation and deployment of any such activity and its concomitant risks. House Bill 6011 proposes a sensible method for tracking and assessing the danger and efficacy of any geoengineering activity in the state and for monitoring that activity and its impacts. In that regard, House Bill 6011 is entirely consistent with this state's environmental policies. This state has vowed to protect air, water, land, and natural resources located within the state from pollution, impairment, and destruction. House Bill 6011 upholds this state's commitment to those policies. Additionally, Bill 6011 is a modest bill. It only requires that anyone proposing to deploy geoengineering technology in the state apply for a license. And by disclosing the proposed project, its scope and methods, chemical substances being employed, and the qualifications of the participants, that's not asking a lot in terms of regulation. It promotes transparency by providing the public with online access to that information and an opportunity to participate in the decision-making process through the hearing. It promotes efficacy by engaging the state's leading experts in environment, health and agriculture, and natural resources and emergency management to weigh in on the potential impacts of the proposed activity. House Bill 6011 is not a blanket prohibition on geoengineering, or some might argue it should be, but it is a sensible approach to a new technology. The deliberate manipulation of the Earth's atmosphere and climate is real. It is imminent. It raises a host of scientific, political, ethical, and moral concerns, and in light of these concerns, Rhode Island is poised to meet that challenge today and lead on this issue
right up there
for the sake of its citizens and its.
And so, what can I say? They talk about the virus, and what are they spraying into your air? They never talk about the alternatives, increasing vitamin D, increasing vitamin C, and those other alternative treatments that are already out there. They just want you to get the shot. I wonder why. Yeah, your tax-paying dollars are paying for it. You will be paying for